Chapter 1: The Unfinished Melody. The neon skyline of Seoul shimmered like 1,000 untold stories, each light flickering between past and future, between fate and free will. Jeon Jungkook had never believed in destiny until the night he met Kim Taehyung again. The grand ballroom of the Empire Hotel buzzed with the chatter of Seoul's elite. Champagne glasses clinked, designer heels clicked against marble floors, and violins played an elegant yet haunting melody. It was the annual Kim Conglomerate Gala, a night where power and prestige danced in the same breath. Jungkook, dressed in a sleek black suit, adjusted the cuffs of his shirt. He wasn't here for the glamour. He was here because fate, or perhaps something far crueler, had brought him back into this world. A familiar voice cut through the air. Deep, rich, and laced with quiet authority. Still reckless, I see. Jungkook froze. The sound of that voice, it felt like time itself had shattered. He turned, and there he was. Kim Taehyung. The man he once loved. The man he once betrayed. The man he could never forget. Taehyung stood tall in an immaculate three-piece suit, his presence commanding, his gaze unreadable. Time had sculpted him into something even more dangerous, more untouchable. The heir to the Kim Empire, cold and untamed. Jungkook swallowed the lump in his throat. I didn't come here to see you. Taehyung smirked. Yet, here you are. Jungkook's hands clenched into fists. He had spent years trying to erase the past, but now it stood before him in the form of a man who once owned his heart. A slow melody started playing, a song Jungkook knew all too well. Do you remember this song? Taehyung's voice was softer now, tinged with something dangerous. Jungkook did. It was the same song they danced to under a starlit sky 6 years ago. Before everything fell apart. Before betrayal. Before the accident. His heart pounded. You are playing games, Taehyung. A dark chuckle. Oh, Jungkook, the game never ended. As Taehyung extended a hand, the weight of their past crashed down on Jungkook. This night was only the beginning. Somewhere, in another time, in another life, had they loved without pain? Had they found each other without losing themselves? Jungkook wasn't sure. But tonight, the echoes of their past whispered a truth he could no longer ignore. Fate was never done with them. Chapter 2: A Dance with Ghosts. The violins played on, filling the ballroom with an aching, melancholic tune. Jungkook's breath hitched as Taehyung's outstretched hand hovered between them, a silent challenge, a cruel invitation. He should have walked away. He should have ignored the man who once shattered his heart. But instead, Jungkook did something reckless. Something inevitable. He took Taehyung's hand. A sharp intake of breath. A flicker of something in Taehyung's dark eyes. Then, without another word, Taehyung pulled him into the dance. The world blurred around them as they moved in perfect sync, muscle memory from a past life taking over. But this wasn't the same Taehyung who once whispered promises into his ear under cherry blossom trees. This was a man cloaked in power and coldness, his grip firm, his expression unreadable. Jungkook hated that his body still remembered the way Taehyung's touch felt. I heard you disappeared, Taehyung murmured, his breath brushing against Jungkook's ear. Did you think I wouldn't find you? Jungkook scoffed, masking the way his heart pounded. I didn't think you'd care. A flicker of something in Taehyung's gaze hurt. Anger? Regret? It was gone before Jungkook could be sure. You should know by now, Jungkook. Taehyung's grip on his waist tightened ever so slightly. I never stop chasing what's mine. Jungkook's pulse quickened. He wanted to push Taehyung away. He wanted to scream that he was never Taehyung's to claim. But the past was a cruel thing, and it wrapped around him now, suffocating him with memories he had tried to bury. The night of the accident. The blood on Taehyung's hands. The betrayal that had torn them apart. Jungkook willed himself to look into Taehyung's eyes. You lost that right a long time ago. Taehyung smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Did I? The music slowed. The final note lingered in the air like an unfinished sentence, an unspoken promise. As the dance ended, Taehyung leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. You can lie to yourself, Jungkook. But we both know the past isn't done with us. Jungkook stepped back, his heart racing. And then he saw it. Beyond the crowd, standing near the balcony, was a figure from his nightmares. A man he thought was long dead. Jungkook's blood ran cold. The past wasn't just haunting him. It was coming for him. Chapter 3: The Ghost Who Never Left. Jungkook's breath hitched. The man standing by the balcony was supposed to be dead. His mind raced. The last time he had seen Min Jae, his childhood friend, his closest ally, was the night of the accident. The night everything fell apart. Jae had been covered in blood, his lifeless body pulled from the wreckage. Jungkook had spent years blaming himself, drowning in guilt, believing he had failed him. But now, here Jae stood, alive, watching him. Jungkook took a step forward, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. Jungkook, Taehyung's voice was low, cautious. Who are you looking at? Jungkook ignored him, pushing through the crowd. But as he neared the balcony, the figure turned and walked away, disappearing behind the curtains. No. He couldn't let this go. Jungkook broke into a sprint, shoving past guests, his chest tightening with each step. He burst onto the balcony, only to find it empty. The cold night air bit at his skin as he scanned the shadows. Nothing. No trace of Jae. Had he imagined it? No. He knew what he saw. A hand clamped around his wrist. Jungkook. Taehyung's grip was strong, his voice dangerously quiet. What the hell are you doing? Jungkook yanked his hand away. He was here. Who? Jungkook's lips parted, but the words felt absurd. If he told Taehyung that Min Jae, someone they both buried 6 years ago, was alive, would he even believe him? Just someone I used to know. Taehyung's jaw tightened. You're hiding something. Jungkook exhaled sharply. And since when do you care? A shadow crossed Taehyung's face. Since the day you left. The air between them thickened. Jungkook wanted to argue, to tell Taehyung he had no right to act like he still cared. But his mind was too scattered, stuck on the ghost he had just seen. Taehyung studied him for a long moment, then spoke, his voice softer this time. Come with me. Jungkook hesitated. Why? Because, Taehyung said, stepping closer, you are not the only one seeing ghosts. Chapter 4: The Shadows Between Us. Jungkook stared at Taehyung, his pulse unsteady. You are seeing ghosts too, he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Taehyung's expression didn't change, but his eyes darkened, haunted, unreadable. Come with me, Jungkook. You'll understand. Every instinct screamed at Jungkook to turn away. To not trust the man who once held his heart in one hand and crushed it with the other. But the memory of Min Jae's face wouldn't leave his mind. If Taehyung knew something, he had no choice but to follow. Wordlessly, he nodded. Taehyung led him through a private hallway, away from the gala's prying eyes. The air felt heavier here, thick with old secrets. Where are we going? Jungkook finally asked. Taehyung didn't answer. He stopped in front of an ornate wooden door, pressing his hand against the scanner beside it. A soft beep, and then the door unlocked. Jungkook tensed. This wasn't just some private lounge. Whatever was behind that door, it wasn't meant for ordinary guests. As they stepped inside, Jungkook's breath hitched. The room was dimly lit, walls lined with old books and surveillance monitors displaying various locations across Seoul. But what made his blood run cold was the wall at the far end. Covered in photographs. Strings connecting names, dates, places. And at the center of it all, a picture of Min Jae. Jungkook's stomach dropped. What the hell is this? Taehyung walked toward the wall, his gaze unreadable. Proof. Jungkook turned to him, his heart pounding. Proof of what? Taehyung finally met his gaze. That Min Jae was never supposed to die that night. Jungkook's world tilted. He stepped closer, scanning the photographs. Some were of Min Jae before the accident, smiling, alive. Others were recent. Too recent. This isn't possible, Jungkook whispered. I thought so too. Taehyung's voice was quite careful. Until I started digging. Jungkook swallowed hard. He had spent years blaming himself for Min Jae's death. But now, standing here, another terrifying thought clawed at his mind. If Min Jae was alive, then the accident wasn't an accident at all. Jungkook turned to Taehyung, his voice tight. Who did this? Taehyung's jaw clenched. That's what I've been trying to find out. Jungkook inhaled sharply, his hands curling into fists. He had spent 6 years running from the past, but now it was chasing him down with terrifying speed. And then, as if fate itself was mocking them, one of the monitors flickered. A grainy security feed from outside the hotel. Jungkook's breath caught. There, standing beneath the street lights, looking straight at the camera, was Min Jae. Alive. Watching them. And smiling. Chapter 5, The Man Who Shouldn't Exist. Jungkook's blood ran cold. Min Jae wasn't just alive. He was watching them. On the flickering screen, Jae stood beneath the glow of the street lamp, his face half hidden in shadows. His smile wasn't warm, wasn't the carefree grin Jungkook remembered from their youth. It was something else. Calculated. Knowing. And then, he moved. Without breaking eye contact with the camera, Min Jae raised a hand and placed a single finger against his lips. A silent warning. SHHH. Jungkook's breath hitched. His hands gripped the edge of the desk as his mind raced. Taehyung's voice was sharp. We need to go. Jungkook turned to him, eyes burning with questions. What the hell is going on? Taehyung grabbed Jungkook's wrist, pulling him toward the door. Not here. Jungkook yanked his arm free. No. No more secrets, Taehyung. You owe me the truth. Taehyung exhaled, jaw tight, as if waging an internal battle. Finally, he spoke. Min Jae was never just your friend, Jungkook. He was working for someone. And that night, the accident, it wasn't an accident. Jungkook's stomach twisted. What are you saying? Taehyung's next words shattered the last remnants of his sanity. I'm saying Min Jae was sent to kill you that night. The air felt too thin. Jungkook stumbled back, his pulse a violent roar in his ears. No. That's not possible. Min Jae had been his closest friend, his family when he had nothing. They had grown up together, bled together, dreamed together. Taehyung's gaze was steel. Think, Jungkook. Why do you think you survived that crash when Min Jae didn't? Jungkook opened his mouth, then closed it. Because the crash had been deliberate. Because someone had tampered with the brakes. And because at the last moment, Min Jae had grabbed Jungkook and thrown him out of the car. Jungkook's head spun. If Min Jae had been sent to kill him, then why had he saved him instead? The door suddenly burst open. A man in black stepped inside, eyes cold and unyielding. Taehyung's body tensed beside him. We have to move, the man said. Now? Jungkook's mind screamed with questions. But one thing was clear, whatever game Min Jae was playing, it had only just begun. And this time, Jungkook wouldn't run. He was going to find the truth. Even if it destroyed him.